Alright, what is going on YouTube? So for today's video, I actually wanted to discuss the current state of anime live action because I feel like the One Piece live action from Netflix really was a game changer and did a lot of things for how people ultimately see anime live action as a whole. But now, with the Yu Yu Hakusho live action having come out, I feel like it's also had a strange impact on how people currently view anime live action as a whole. So I kind of wanted to talk about both live action adaptations, what they've done for anime live action, and how people see live action adaptations of anime now as we approach the end of 2023 and move into 2024. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So I think to start off with, we should talk about how the One Piece live action really changed the game. When it came out, it got so much success, brought together so many people. You know, I've been covering the One Piece live action for a while, all the way from when it got announced to when it finally came out. All the different cast announcements of who's gonna play who, all the different rumors, you know, the showrunners, the interviews, all that stuff getting announced and thrown at us, all this different news and everything. I was covering all of that up until it finally released. And I feel like for the most part, all the choices they made were really spot on, really good choices. And when it finally came out, you know, I try to take myself away from all the numbers and all the results that it was doing because I wanted to formulate my own opinion on what I thought of the actual show, the actual content itself, you know, without being caught up in all the crazy good marketing and, you know, all the amazing things that it was doing results wise. I just wanted to have my own opinion of what I thought about the show itself. And also, I myself am not the biggest One Piece fan in the world. I like One Piece. I don't really like the fan base. But, you know, I like One Piece, and I like it enough to watch the show and be able to appreciate it and recognize that it's a pretty good adaptation, for sure. It's just that the fan base will make it seem like I'm not a One Piece fan just because I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but that's besides the point. The point is, the show did really well and was extremely successful. And despite what I thought personally about the contents of the show, I think the majority of people that have seen the One Piece live action adaptation think it's really, really good, have said nothing but positive things about it. And I think the One Piece live action adaptation almost universally has been well received since it came out. You know, it kind of opened the doors of people's thoughts on anime live action because everything that could have gone right for a live action adaptation of an anime went right with this adaptation. And what I mean by that is the sense that like all the marketing that they did for this live action adaptation really paid off. You know, all the actors that were on this show are now being recognized by the One Piece fans. And I feel like a lot of the fans look up to those actors now and really adore them as if they were playing, you know, a hero in a superhero movie. And you have kids that like see that actor or see like Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield and they're like, oh my god, that's Spider-Man, you know? That's how like a lot of One Piece fans see the actors of the One Piece live action now. And on top of that, like it's setting records for being one of the most searched things on Google, breaking TikTok records, like all these crazy things that the One Piece live action has done success-wise. Like everything that could have gone right went right. And that's what I genuinely would like to happen for every live action from an anime that comes out. Like I would love to see a high budget, high quality adaptation of Bleach. That same level of success that came from One Piece live action, I would love that to happen to Bleach. Or, you know, something else, just whatever they decide to do. I think once the One Piece live action came out, it's not just the actual adaptation itself, but it's the level of success that it reached that made everyone go, man, I wish this anime or that anime could get the One Piece live action treatment. Like once you start to have that brand name of success, like, oh, this should get the One Piece live action treatment, that's when you know that it is almost universally a success. So in a way, the One Piece live action kind of united everyone into agreeing that it was really good. And that in turn made people think maybe live action adaptations of anime can be good. So in a way, it kind of put the perspective of anime live action in people's minds on a high note because people think, wow, this is how good things can be. This is how good a live action can be of an anime. Now people wanting to see more. That's the state we were in around early September when the live action of One Piece came out. However, shortly after, we started to get news, a first look at Yusuke in the live action Yu Yu Hakusho, and hearing that we're gonna get the actual show of Yu Yu Hakusho live action December 14th. And I think since Yu Yu Hakusho was also in that realm of popular shonen, this was the next big live action adaptation that people were looking forward to after One Piece. Also helps the fact that it was going to be on Netflix as well. So I'm sure now they're going to be recommended probably side by side to each other. You know, if you watched One Piece, it'll probably be right under saying, oh, you also might like Yu Yu Hakusho, now that it's out anyway. But the problem is, the Yu Yu Hakusho live action didn't have nearly as much amazing marketing that One Piece had. And it kind of just came out, honestly. I think it's safe to say the Yu Yu Hakusho fanbase also isn't as active as the One Piece fanbase, due to the fact that Yu Yu Hakusho ended a long time ago, whereas One Piece is still ongoing. But Yu Yu Hakusho is still very popular and regarded as one of the GOATs when it comes to shonen anime. So regardless, it was still going to be important. But yeah, there really wasn't as much marketing for this Yu Yu Hakusho live action as there could have been. And I think without that, it definitely didn't help ease the minds of what people were expecting. Then we started getting the trailers, and you know, I was surprised by some things about the trailers, and I think a lot of other people were surprisingly more optimistic about it than I thought they would have been. Like, I was seeing a lot of people get excited for the Yu Yu Hakusho live action once the trailers started coming out, and I was pretty surprised by that because usually that's not what happens. But I think it's that idea of, hey, we can say that this anime live action is good now because everyone said it for One Piece. And now that people are saying an anime live action can be good, I think more people were less afraid to say, oh, this is actually good. Because for the longest time, the general opinion was to always hate on an anime live action, to always shit on it without even giving it a shot. It's always safe to say that it's gonna be bad, or it's always typical to just bandwagon hate on an anime live action, whether it's really good or not. It's just on the internet, it's safe to say that it's bad. It's safe to just hate. But after One Piece live action, more people starting to maybe get off the bandwagon hate train, maybe give it a shot for themselves. And then they saw the trailer and thought, wow, actually this looks pretty good. Now that the Yu Yu Hakusho live action is out, I think in a way it kind of universally divided how people see anime live action as a whole. Because in a very strange way, if the Yu Yu Hakusho live action was just outright bad, then I think people would have all just said, okay, anime live action sucks, but One Piece was the exception. One Piece was the only good live action. Right? If it was really good, then I think people might have started to lean towards the side of, you know, there are good anime live action out there, and now we're in a time where live action anime is just getting better and better. But since the Yu Yu Hakusho live action was neither really universally positively received or poorly received, instead it kind of divided the fans of the Yu Yu Hakusho fan base because it did some things right and some things not right. And I think that simultaneously kind of divided people's perspective on anime live action as a whole, because it's like, well, you have One Piece that was just great in most people's eyes, but then you have Yu Yu Hakusho that was kind of good but kind of bad. It doesn't really necessarily make One Piece the exception because, you know, they did all right with Yu Yu Hakusho, but it also didn't keep the high note that One Piece set for anime live action. So right now, the current state of anime live action and how people view it, I think it's very weird, honestly. Yu Yu Hakusho was interesting, and I made a review in case you guys want to know more about my thoughts on it. But it's important to keep in mind that the One Piece live action had a lot more budget and was supported by more of the Hollywood side of things, whereas the Yu Yu Hakusho live action was primarily a Japanese live action adaptation of anime, which I would say those are a little bit different. And I think I want to make a video talking about how these Japanese live action adaptations are different from Hollywood ones and just going over the details of that, but I mean, again, that's a different video. But yeah, it's important to know that there were differences in the process of how they were made, and of course just the marketing overall, I think, really goes to show that, you know, these adaptations were handled very differently. I was reading an article on Screen Rant saying that the Yu Yu Hakusho live action underperformed or whatever, and I'm like, I don't think it underperformed. I mean, especially from the results side of things, it definitely did all right in terms of rankings and people watching it. You know, it got a lot of attention. Did it underperform in terms of the critiques that people had with it? Maybe. But even then, I feel like I wouldn't say it underperformed unless you're comparing it to the One Piece live action, in which case if you're doing that and you're expecting it to be as good as One Piece, then I mean, that's kind of your fault for expecting that and not knowing how differently this live action was made. But I feel like from my expectations, like, I kind of expected it to be worse, honestly. So I don't know if it's safe to say it underperformed, but I think that's the problem with the Yu Yu Hakusho live action, is that it's just not really clear on how it makes us feel when it comes to anime live action. It kind of just divided everything. You know, One Piece gathered everyone, and now Yu Yu Hakusho just divided everything, because there's so many different ways you can look at it. There's so many different ways to feel about it, and I think it's interesting to talk about, especially with the upcoming anime live action projects that we have on the horizon. If you guys don't know, which you should if you're subscribed, because I talk about all the upcoming anime live action projects from Hollywood and a few others, but we're getting potentially an initial D Hollywood live action movie. We just got an origin manga Hollywood live action announced. Of course, the My Hero Academia movie from Legendary Pictures is still on the way. The live action Gundam movie we're still getting from Hollywood. The live action One Punch Man movie we're still getting from Sony. Like, we have a lot of live action Hollywood anime movies coming still, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see how these movies come out and how they turn the tides of people's opinions and perspectives on anime live action as a whole. But I think right now, currently, Yu Yu Hakusho kind of left us feeling divided, and I almost wish it would have came out after a few of the other Hollywood adaptations. But hey, I think at the very least it could be much worse. You know, if it was just ultimately really bad, I think people would just be like, yeah, I'm not giving live action anime a chance. One Piece was the only good one, and that's that. You know, they just probably would have not even wanted to support all these upcoming Hollywood live action anime projects, and I don't think that that's good. Of course, I think ultimately I would love to see these live action adaptations of anime get better and have more involvement with the creators, of course, and I think we can only get more towards that goal, or more towards that point, if these filmmakers keep trying. It would suck to just see them all stop and see it all fall apart just because one live action adaptation wasn't done the best, especially when we've seen how good one can be done with One Piece and all the success that it can bring, and happiness and joy for the fans, for the actors, for the filmmakers, for, you know, for everything. I would really love to see that happen to more anime, because I love anime. You know, I'm a filmmaker, and I've always believed that it can be done, and I always believe that we will get to that point of it being consistently good, just how we got to that point of Disney and Marvel consistently making good movies that people really enjoyed. I think the same will happen for anime and live action. Will 2024 be the year that that happens? I guess we'll find out, because remember, before, superhero movies were also in this same sort of scenario where they would come out, people wouldn't like them, people would say, oh, well, they did this right, they did that right, but this was bad, they changed this, they changed that. You know, it was in the exact same scenario, but they got their shit together and eventually found a formula that worked, and they made so many movies and got so much success with the MCU, and, you know, look at things now. So I do think that the same thing will happen for anime, and I hope it does. I would love to be a part of that as well, you know, maybe have a hand in making some of those films, but, you know, only time will tell. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about for this video. Let me know what you guys think after watching the Yu Yu Hakusho live action. How do you guys feel about live action as a whole of anime? Do you think we're in a good spot? Do you think they only missed a few things with Yu Yu Hakusho and that we're still ultimately progressing when it comes to adapting anime in live action? Or do you think that after One Piece, Yu Yu Hakusho was a really big step back, and that maybe Hollywood should be the main ones making live action adaptations of anime, and that Japanese live action just need more money before they can even start or get something off the ground because of how rushed things sort of were at the end of the Yu Yu Hakusho? Let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. That helps me out a ton. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Personal base,